Welcome to the UFW podcast with your host, Big Ike Johnson.
Hey, Big Ike Johnson here from UFW Lifestyle. I'm going to teach you how to be unfuckwithable. To be unfuckwithable, you have to learn how to generate, use, and direct your own personal power. Hey y'all, it's Ike here, Ike Johnson with another podcast. This week I have a question. Who are you? Who are you really? I raised that before, but this time I want to go a little bit deeper into you. I want to talk about you. Well, not really you. I want to talk about your true self. Do you really know who you are? There was a temple in ancient Egypt called the Temple of Apollo. Above one of the doorways was a sign that said, "Know thyself." Now, for most of us, when we think about ourselves, we think about what color we are, maybe our genders, or our gender identities nowadays. We think about also internal things like, our emotional states, the things we think about most often. But are those our really true selves? We think they are, but according to psychologists, we tend to think that we won't change and we are the way we're going to be the rest of our lives. They call this and I'm paraphrasing here, the history of illusion, whereas we think that the way we are will not change. However, we change a lot. However slowly, we change over time. The person you think you are right now is not going to be the same person 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 20 years from now. That person has changed. So who are you really? You are not really defined by yourselves, by the body that you are. However, that body you're within does define you to a certain extent, but that's not the whole you. The whole you, the real you, is much deeper. I call that the true self. Some people call that the I am presence. Some people call that their God selves. There are many names for what they call their true selves. I maintain that that is the true you. Now, why is this important? It's important because the you that you think you are always changes. And if it changes too fast, you can get what's called cognitive dissonance, where you, who you think you are, changes, and you may undergo a period where you have some mental instability because, again, you have identified with that particular frame of thinking, that mindset that always changes. The real you never changes. It stays the same. However, the real you, the deeper you, is what does things for the outer you, meaning this. Whenever you say things like, "I am afraid," the real you, the deeper you, will deliver to you that feeling of fear. Whatever you say, whatever you imagine, the deeper part of you, the real you, will deliver it to you. If you say, "I am rich," and believe that you're rich, the real you will find a way to bring you riches. If you say and believe you're poor, the real you will find a place in poverty for you. You decide. The real you does not judge. Whatever the smaller you or the personality asks for, the real you will deliver. Let me step back for a second. I said that if you say, "I am rich," the real you will find you riches. Now, the key here is to be consistent with what you think you are and what you say you are. The real you will deliver on what you focus on the most. So again, the real you is the deeper you, the part of you that will deliver based on what you think and what you feel. We have a program called Suiting Up, which is stirring up the energy. In that program, we talk more about how to stir up the energy, how to work with the real you. More on that a little bit later. Or if you want to find out more, go to our website and look for the Suit Up Method, also on Udemy as well too. But back to Who Are You? Now, some of you may ask why it's so important to find out the real you. Well, number one, the real you does more than deliver what you want. The real you will protect you. It will also give you an anchor or a place to rest in the shifting sands of life. Like I mentioned before, your mindset, your emotions are always changing. You need to have an anchor sometimes where you can relax, let go, be safe, be secure, and not be afraid. You can get that by learning to work with or play with the real you. How can you do that? Well, I'm going to give you 3 things to think about, or 3 ways you can get closer to the real you. A couple are very simple. One is more complex because the real you is only limited by what you think. If you think that you're a small, weak person, the real you will deliver that lifestyle. If you think that you can become president or CEO, the real you will place in front of you the pathway to get there. So the real you is boundless and measureless. The real you is only limited by you. Those limitations may be based on what you were taught when you were a child, what you learned in school, what you accept in the media, but all of these are limitations on the real you. Again, how do you find out and get used to the real you? Well, number one, you have to become more at ease with your true self. What do I mean? First of all, the true self is very subtle, very quiet. It is quieter than your thoughts. It is quieter than your emotions. It is more subtle than that. To sense it, you have to pay attention. One way, and I'm going to use a term that I hope won't throw you, is through meditation, which means basically being quiet, being mentally still, and allowing your thoughts to float by. A lot of us think that we're our thoughts, so we spend all day long think, which is usually worry. That's really what we're actually doing. But if you can slow down your thoughts, or if you can stop them, what do you think will happen? What's going to be behind there? What do you think will happen? What will be behind your thoughts? The real you. So number one, learn to spend more time with the real you. One way is to learn to sit and be quiet every day. Now, some people, to control their minds, if you will, they may look at a candle, or they may focus on an affirmation, what have you. But the key here is to learn to slow down and then learn to stop the thoughts. Once you learn to control your thoughts or stop them, you're going to see something really interesting. You're going to see that the creative side of you will come forth. You will then start very shortly to have ideas that are bigger, creative, and that will solve any quote-unquote problems that you may have. You'll also notice that people will treat you differently because they're going to respond to a different side of you. You'll notice that you're going to be calmer and more relaxed as well, too. You also notice that things will come to you. Your real self, the real you, will give you things. It will give you gifts if you let it. Another thing to do is to use what I call an affirmation. As I mentioned before, if you say, I am tired, the real you would deliver you tiredness. If you say, I am excited, the real you would deliver that feeling of excitement. If you say, I am rich, and believe it, holding on to that thought, the real you will find a way to deliver you riches. So, one way to work with the real you is to focus on what you say, especially about yourself. Meaning this: when you use the word I, along with an action verb like I am, I have, that calls the true you, the real you, to action. I'm going to suggest that you practice something very, very simple, something believable. Like, example for me, I've been told that I'm not as prompt as some people would like me to be. So I am going to work with my big self to become more prompt. I am doing that by speaking this affirmation. I am always on time. 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 Did you notice what I did? I spoke a positive affirmation using the action words I am. I spoke it loudly, and then I spoke it more softly to let it become a part of me. I recommend that you take something that you believe in, that you can achieve, something small, and practice with your I am self, your big self, and then watch what happens the next week or next few days. I guarantee it will work. It is natural law. You were designed to work this way.
Thank you for listening to the UFW podcast with your host, Big Ike Johnson. Follow Big Ike Johnson at UFW Lifestyle on Instagram and Facebook. Find out more about the UFW Lifestyle online. Visit ufwlifestyle.com for tips and tools that will help you to start living a life that is truly unfuckwithable. Bye now.